All right, guys. I've gotten a few requests to do an update video on our trees in our orchard. So I was going to do a full review today of all the trees and how they're looking through the this last summer. We're in late July 19th right now, and we got hammered really hard with 118-degree days in June, and things have really calmed down. We've been in the low hundreds with higher humidity, so the trees have actually bounced back a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I will show you all the trees and how they're currently looking. All right, we will start with the desert willow. Still flowering, still looking nice and green. Everything's been going great with the willow. I still have not given it any water at all this summer. These things just keep going here. If you want a tree that you literally don't have to worry about at all, maybe trim it up once a year. That's what I do, because we have had a few branches snap on it. But other than that, you don't have to feed it, don't have to water it. I mean, a little bit of supplemental water probably goes a long way with them. But this one's near the grass, so I'm sure that it gets just a little bit of water here. But pretty much this, I don't give this any water. I don't have any irrigation running to it, and I don't give it any hose water. So a great tree to have in your yard if you want some shade, some flowers, and you want to save on water. Next is the Florida Prince peach tree. This tree is doing amazing. Highly recommend it. I think it's the best peach tree to plant in the Southwest desert. It loves the heat, and I don't know if you can see here, but all the bright green there is new shoots coming out. Since we have cooled down a little bit and gotten some humidity, this tree just immediately started putting out new growth, and so it's looking amazing. Very nice tree. Wanted to show you guys what I'm doing with the covers here at the base. I've just taken some cardboard from boxes from Amazon and different places that we get shipments from. I've put one hole in it, and I've ran a string through it and then just tied it around the base of it, or down around the middle of it. And this is protecting the bark. It's free. It's basically free. The string was about $1.20, and I've used it. I have not used all of it yet, and I've gone through most of my trees with wrapping them already. So for $1 you can wrap all your trees. This is to save the bark from getting sunburnt. It really helps, and it's really important on young trees. And so here's the apricot tree. This is a Katy apricot. It's doing good. It's still nice and green. These do really well in the heat too. They don't seem to look too bad. In September, early September, they start getting some real burnt leaves and stuff just from taking the beating from the sun. But these trees are out here in the middle of the yard right now, and they get almost all day sun. So these trees do take a little bit of a beating. I am working on building more of a microclimate, and I will get to that in a little bit and show you what we're doing there. This is the mulberry tree. I would say it's about 8.5 feet tall now. This is year 2. I got this one from Seamus O'Leary's, and it's doing good. The mulberries did get hit pretty hard by the sun, and they started to fry up some of the leaves. And so but like I said with the peach tree, as soon as it started cooling down just a little bit, they started putting out all this new growth. So this tree's been doing well. The leaves got kind of heavy and it started leaning over a little bit, so I went ahead and staked it up for a little bit just to make sure it grows up straight, but it's looking good. And this is the Pakistan mulberry, just to be clear. And then we have this orange tree here. Now this orange tree, off here to the west, they get beat on. This is where the sun goes down in the afternoon, and so it really does get beat back here. We have the the block wall, we have the concrete here, and we have the sun. So it's really rough over here for these trees. But this is a Valencia orange, and it's doing pretty good. It's doing what it normally does in July. It's shedding some of the leaves. They're getting a little burnt, but it is putting out new growth. And since I ran the water and the wood chips to it, it has started putting out these new shoots out the top. So this tree's doing pretty good. It's hanging in there. Got a few oranges on it, a lot of new growth. This shoot, this is about 8 inches of new growth here the last week. Like I said, they love it when the temperatures cool down just a little bit and they get some humidity. And so here's the fig tree, the brown turkey fig. This one definitely looks probably the worst over here right now. It's only in its second year. I think it's still, trying to get adapted. And it just seems like if I don't water this thing every day, the leaves droop and a lot of the leaves are starting to burn up. So I've upped the water, but this one's struggling a bit. This is probably, like I said, doing the worst right now. So I'm just trying to get it through this summer while I build a microclimate to the west here. Here's the pomegranate. Pomegranate's doing great. Always does do great. A little bit extra water. Very green. It shoots over the wall here. And probably about 40 pomegranates. I've got clusters over here. So it's putting out a lot of fruit. It doesn't, the heat doesn't phase it over here. For anyone that wants to put something next to a concrete wall or a concrete slab, pomegranates would be one of your best choices. Doing great. And to show you how harsh this June was, this mulberry is also, this is another Pakistan mulberry, but it's right next to the concrete here. And it took this summer very hard. A lot of burnt up leaves. It's really started to shed. But again, putting out new growth. Lots of new growth. Almost every tip has new growth coming out of it, so it looks a little straggly, but but it's doing good. It's coming back, and it's still young. So, and over here is the jujube tree. This is the Sherwood jujube. Now this is super exciting. This is the tree that I put in September as a bare root tree, and hasn't really done much up until about a month ago. And then it just started to explode here. A ton of new growth. It was planted in 105 degrees as a bare root tree, and it has come back great. So it looks awesome. I'm super excited for this tree. This tree and the mulberry tree are two of these trees that I'm trying to create this microclimate to the west. They take heat well, and they do well in direct sunlight. And so I'm hoping to have these trees 15-20 feet tall to create a wall of shade over here to help the rest of the trees. So, but this is super exciting for me. I love the way this tree looks. I've seen the Garden of Luma growing one in his yard in Surprise, Arizona, and I'm feeling really good about it. For it to survive September with over 100-degree weather as a bare root tree, that's just amazing in its own right. So they seem to be like really tough trees, and the hotter it gets, the happier they are. So I'll give you an update, but that's at least 10 inches of growth out of the top here in the last couple weeks. So looking really good. And here's our oak tree. This is the final piece to the west part here. This has already added some microclimate. This has been in the ground for, I want to say, about 2.5 years now. I bought it from Lowe's for like, I mean, super cheap. It was like $15, $16 or so, and it was small, but Just been watering them a lot. These are a little bit slower growing, but if you give them a lot of water, it will speed up the growth in the first couple years. So it's definitely adding some shade to some of these other trees over here. I did lose a bare root back in the spring. Well, it never came back. I planted it in the winter and it didn't come back at all. So I ordered this from shrubsandtrees.com. I'm hoping to get a replacement. They've been a little difficult to deal with, but they said they would send me out a new tree here in the fall, so we'll see. And I'm gonna take you to the other side of the orchard and show you the rest of the trees of our yard here. So this is the mesquite. This is the mesquite I planted from seed. Now this tree has gone completely crazy this summer. I'd say about 7.5 feet tall, 7.5 feet tall. And again, this was from seed. I planted this in, the seed actually sprouted in like November. And so we went through one full summer into November, and then we're now into July. So it's been about 1.5 years, little over 1.5 years. And this thing's huge. I mean, it's probably 6.5 feet wide and about 6.5 feet tall maybe. But super green, putting out new growth like crazy. The only downfall is the thorns. I thought that I had picked out the best variety. I had 6 or 7 that had sprouted, and I thought I had picked out the best variety. But this thing has some pretty big thorns. So unfortunately, that's not the greatest part of it. I wish I could say that it was thornless, but it definitely did not turn out thornless. You can see the size of that thorn right there. So I'm in the phase of trying to figure out what I'm going to do. The tree is just so beautiful and green and needs very little maintenance, so I'd really like to keep it. One thing I'm thinking about doing is grafting some branches off of a thornless Chilean mesquite, which I have them all around me. There's one across the wall there. I have them up and down my street and over in a park near me. So I may do some grafting this fall just to see if it'll take, so I can get a thornless variety on this. But we'll see. But yeah, that one's doing amazing. I'll cut it up. I'm just worried about the kids and the dog if it drops branches. Those thorns are large. So still in the deciding phase on what I'm going to do. But it is a healthy tree, and I have no doubt that it's going to continue to grow quickly if I just leave it alone and water it once a week, which is what I've been doing. And here's a Chinese elm. This is one of the original trees when I moved in. It's doing well and maintaining. I give it water once a week, and I've given it some mulch, and it adds some shade over here on the west wall. Here's the Oro Blanco grapefruit. I'm gonna try and get in here and show you this. This also fried up a little bit in the summer, started getting some yellow leaves, but as soon as it started cooling down, I mean, we've got lots of growth. I mean, sprouts are coming out everywhere. So I want to show you some of the fruit, see if I can find one. Here's one here. The fruit is already gigantic, so pretty cool. The tree's doing well, nice and green. The plants have a little bit of a microclimate over here because of the wall. It shades them in the afternoon, and I have a few trees here along with a palm tree that helps give them a little relief here in the summer. Here is the Anna apple, another thriving tree. All the bright green on this tree is new growth. And I posted a video of our harvest about, I would say, a month ago. We just got tons and tons of apples, made apple pie out of them, still eating them. And I have noticed one thing on the last video. I was talking about how it's kind of sour and bitter, some of the apples. I've noticed the longer that you leave them on the tree, they sweeten up a little bit, but they also sweeten up, in my opinion, they've been ripening up and sweetening up just a little bit when they're off the tree. So I've had them off the tree almost a month now, and they're still good. They're still holding in the refrigerator. So a really cool tree to grow. Hasn't gotten super tall. I had to cut back the main branch. It got some kind of fungal issue growing on it. I cut off the top, and the branches around it have started to grow up. So it's kind of bushed out. I mean, it's really wide. It's probably about 5.5 feet wide. So awesome tree though, doing well. Very promising that the trees are doing so well in July. And here's the other jujube that I planted. This one was planted in November, so this has only been in the ground about 8 months. I picked it up from a nursery as a 5-gallon potted plant, and again, it kind of just sat there with some leaves on it, didn't do much. But last couple weeks when this humidity hit, this tree has taken off. It really got some new growth. It's taller than me. It's trying to put on jujubes already. It's got flowers. Let me see if I can pull this in. It's got flowers. It's been flowering and putting on fruit. So I've been taking those off, of course, because I'm trying to get these to get established this year. So, but I am super excited about the what these jujube trees can bring to my yard. They're super green, super glossy green, and they'll bring some shade, and they bring fruit at a time of year when no other plants are really producing much in September, late September, early October here in the desert. I'll show you some jujubes that I need to pull off, but see, it's already trying to put on jujubes. It's incredible. This thing has been in the ground in less than a year, so I'll pull those off, but it's a good sign. Good sign. So they're doing well. And here's my moringa. I would definitely say this moringa looks the best that it's looked since I planted this from seed. This one's probably about almost, it's about 2.5 years old. 2.5? Yeah, 2.5 years old. This one was from seed as well. I just planted it right in the ground, the seed, and it popped up. I'll probably be cutting this back in a little bit because it's getting super heavy, and but it's looking good. Very tropical. Adding a little bit of shade here. I've just watered this. This is on the once a week watering schedule. The rest of the fruit trees over here I water twice a week, and when it gets over 110 I water them 3 times a week. So that's kind of the watering schedule for these. All right, we'll go into the lawn. I've heard people say you cannot grow trees when the grass is competing for nutrients, but I haven't seen that to be the case. I actually think that the moisture stays pretty consistent in the lawn, and so this orange tree has been doing well. This is an Arizona Sweet, 1.5 years in the ground now, and it's doing really well. It's got lots of oranges. It's got about 40 oranges on them. I've pulled out, and I've thinned it off a little bit. I did not, well, no, this has been in the ground about 2.5 years now, because the first year I did not allow any oranges to take. Last year we got about 20 or so, 25 oranges off of it, and this year it looks like they're going to get about 40 oranges off of it. And it's definitely taller than me. I'm short, I'm 5'10", but it's probably about 6.5 feet tall. So this one's doing well, and it's getting lawn watering, so it's getting the sprinklers every other day, and it seems to be doing well. I just you want to deep water these when they're in the lawn every once in a while, just to make sure that you don't get any salt buildup. But the tree overall is doing very well, very healthy, and it is also putting out lots of new shoots. So we've been blessed with some nice weather for July, relatively speaking, nice weather, so it's been good. This is the evergreen elm, another Chinese evergreen elm, looking amazing and doing really well in the yard here. Love this as a shade tree. If you had to ask me to give you one tree to grow in the desert, and it was a shade tree, I would tell you the Chinese evergreen elm. I give this like a bag of manure in the spring, and it's on the, again, it's on the sprinkler system schedule, so it just gets sprinklers every 2 or 3 days. And that's doing great. Almost 20 feet tall. Adds a lot of shade. Keeps nice green foliage, glossy green on these as well. Kind of like the, just a little bit darker than the jujube, but. And it keeps its leaves all summer, and most winters it does not drop its leaves. If it gets really cold, it'll drop its leaves for a couple weeks, but yeah, so it doesn't really add a lot of litter to the yard. Great tree. And here's the almond tree, the all-in-one almond tree. It's up to my patio roof, so it's gotten pretty tall, probably about 12-13 foot tall. Really like it as an ornamental tree, but I have not been that successful in getting almonds. I only get a few each year. Let's see if I can get in here and show you one of the 2 almonds that I found this year. There it is right there. These trees they need a little bit cooler weather than we get in the Phoenix area. So if you're up north a little bit, or just the outskirts of town where it gets a little bit colder in the winter, I think these things would produce better. I'm gonna try and pollinate this year with a brush, see if that helps, but I love the tree, and I don't think I would ever get rid of it because it's just such a cool looking tree, and it adds shade over here to our patio. So, but as far as an edible tree, I have not been very successful in getting fruit yet. Anyway, so there's the update of the trees. I just wanted to give everyone an update. The trees are doing, I would say they're doing pretty dang well right now for July. Everything's greening up again, looking really nice. The humidity has really helped the trees, besides the fig, which is getting hammered by the sun. So hopefully that microclimate will help next year, and I can keep it alive this year. So, but post below if you guys have any questions about the trees that I'm currently growing, and some of the struggles I've had and some of the things I've learned. I'd love to share that with you. And thanks for watching.